The year is 610 AD. The once mighty Byzantine Empire teeters on the brink of collapse. The glorious legacy of Rome seems but a distant memory. The empire is besieged on all sides. Avars and Slavs ravage the Balkans, while in the east the Persian Empire under Chosroes II unleashes its fury. From the walls of Constantinople, citizens watch in horror as Persian armies march across the eastern provinces. City after city falls. Antioch, Jerusalem, Alexandria, jewels of the empire, swallowed by the Persian tide. The very survival of Byzantium hangs by a thread. Yet from the ashes of despair a hero rises. In Carthage, in the exarchate of Africa, a beacon of hope flickers. Heraclius, bearing the blood of ancient Romans, prepares to challenge fate itself. To understand Heraclius's achievement, we must delve into the chaos that gripped Byzantium. Emperor Phocas, a usurper who seized power in 602 AD, was a ruler of unparalleled cruelty and incompetence. His reign was a carnival of blood, a maelstrom of violence and paranoia. Phocas clawed his way to the throne over the mangled corpses of his rivals. His paranoia knew no bounds. Senators were executed on flimsy pretexts, their families often sharing their fate. The streets of Constantinople ran red with the blood of the innocent. Phocas's reign of terror, coupled with his incompetence in military matters, brought the empire to its knees. The Persian War, ignited by Phocas's predecessor Maurice, raged out of control. Phocas, consumed by paranoia, seemed oblivious to the peril facing Byzantium. The people cried out for a savior, a leader who could deliver them from the abyss. Their prayers were answered in the form of Heraclius, the exarch of Africa. Heraclius, exarch of Africa, watched as the Byzantine Empire crumbled. News from the east brought tales of defeat, of cities sacked and citizens slaughtered. He knew that the time for action had come. His homeland, his people, cried out for a savior. He would answer their call. In 608 AD, Heraclius, defying Phocas, refused to send further tribute to Constantinople. He declared himself the true emperor of the Romans, a direct challenge to Phocas's legitimacy. His rebellion was not merely a grab for power, it was an act of desperation to save a dying empire. Heraclius's greatest asset was his charisma. He rallied the people of Africa to his banner, inspiring them with his vision of a restored Byzantium. His fleet, bolstered by volunteers eager to liberate their homeland, set sail for Constantinople. Despite storms and threats, Heraclius persevered, driven by a sense of destiny. Heraclius's fleet arrived at the gates of Constantinople in the fall of 610 AD. The city, once the vibrant heart of the empire, was a shadow of its former glory. Phocas's reign of terror had choked the life out of it. The citizens, cowed by years of oppression, watched with a mixture of fear and hope as Heraclius's forces prepared to storm the city. Heraclius, a shrewd strategist, had not come to engage in a protracted siege. He had allies within the city, men who had grown weary of Phocas's brutality. These men, strategically placed within Constantinople, rose up in support of Heraclius. The city erupted in chaos. Phocas, realizing the gravity of his situation, was seized by a desperate rage. He attempted to rally his remaining supporters, but the tide had turned against him. Heraclius's forces, aided by the uprising within the city, quickly overwhelmed the demoralized defenders. Phocas, captured and dragged before Heraclius, met his end with a whimper. Heraclius the Liberator stood amidst the ruins of a shattered empire, determined to restore Byzantium to its former glory. Section 5, Nineveh, Twilight of the Persians. Heraclius, now emperor, faced a daunting task. The Persian War, neglected by Phocas, raged on. The enemy was deep within Byzantine territory, their armies undefeated, their morale high. But Heraclius was not daunted. He was a soldier emperor, cut from the same cloth as the great Roman generals of old. He spent the first decade of his reign rebuilding the Byzantine army, instilling in them the discipline and fighting spirit that had made Rome great. He knew that he could not defeat the Persians in a conventional battle, not yet. He needed to erode their strength, to strike at their supply lines, to make them bleed. Heraclius, adopting a strategy of attrition, launched a series of lightning raids deep into Persian territory. He bypassed enemy strongholds, aiming to disrupt their logistics and demoralize their troops. He fought with the ferocity of a cornered lion, his personal courage inspiring his men. In 627 AD, Heraclius, feeling the time was right for a decisive confrontation, marched his army towards the heart of the Persian Empire. The two armies met near the ancient city of Nineveh. The Battle of Nineveh was a clash of civilizations, a fight for the future of the Near East. The battle raged for hours, a brutal, bloody affair. Finally, as the sun began to set, the Persian lines crumbled, a testament to Heraclius's leadership and the courage of his soldiers. Section 6. The Monothelitism Controversy. With the Persian threat vanquished, Heraclius turned his attention to internal matters. The empire, ravaged by decades of war and mismanagement, was in dire need of spiritual and political unity. Heraclius, a devout Christian, believed that religious harmony was essential for the empire's survival. In an attempt to heal the theological rift between the Eastern and Western churches, Heraclius, in 638 AD, officially endorsed a doctrine known as monothelitism. This doctrine, which emphasized the single will of Christ, was intended to serve as a compromise. However, monothelitism ignited fierce opposition from both sides. The Pope in Rome condemned the doctrine as heresy, while in the East, particularly in Egypt and Syria, it was met with suspicion and resistance. The monothelitism controversy, although well-intentioned, further divided the empire. Section 7. The Desert Winds of Change. As Heraclius grappled with the challenges of religious unity, a new and far more formidable threat emerged from the Arabian Peninsula. The followers of a prophet named Muhammad, united under the banner of Islam, exploded out of Arabia. In 636 AD, Heraclius received news that sent a chill down his spine. A Byzantine army sent to confront the Arab invaders at Yarmouk had been utterly crushed. The Yarmouk disaster sent shockwaves through the Byzantine world. The Arabs, fueled by religious zeal and the promise of booty, proved to be an unstoppable force. They conquered Syria, Palestine, and Egypt, wresting control of these vital provinces from the Byzantine Empire. Heraclius, weakened by years of war against the Persians and plagued by internal strife, could do little to stem the Arab tide. The Arab conquest marked a turning point in history, dealing a blow from which the Byzantine Empire would never fully recover. Section 8. Heraclius's enduring legacy. Heraclius died in Constantinople in February 641 AD. He left behind an empire forever changed. The once mighty Byzantine realm had been shrunken by the Arab conquests, its treasury depleted, its army weakened. Yet despite the setbacks of his later years, Heraclius's legacy is one of greatness, of courage against overwhelming odds. He had inherited an empire on the brink of collapse and, through sheer force of will, had dragged it back from the abyss. His victories against the Persians had saved Byzantium from annihilation and had bought it precious time. His reign marked a turning point in Byzantine history. He had planted the seeds of Byzantine resilience, of adaptability, of the ability to withstand the storms of history. Section 9. Conclusion. Heraclius's story is one of extraordinary resilience, of courage in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. He was a man who stared into the abyss and refused to blink. He saved the Byzantine Empire from destruction, only to see it ravaged by a new and even more formidable foe in the twilight of his reign. He was a flawed hero, capable of great vision but also prone to miscalculation. His attempt to impose religious unity through monothelitism backfired, further dividing the empire he had fought so hard to preserve. Yet despite his flaws, Heraclius remains one of the most remarkable figures in Byzantine history. His reign, a tumultuous period of war, reform and religious controversy, laid the foundation for the survival of the Byzantine Empire for centuries to come. Heraclius, the savior of Byzantium, may not have achieved all his goals, but his legacy as a warrior king, a reformer, and a defender of the faith continues to resonate through the ages.